Czechia on Wednesday. Venus Williams advanced to the quarterfinals of the doubles competition at the U.S. Open. The 45-year-old Venus and Leylah Fernandez beat Ekaterina Alexandrova and Zhang Shuai 6-3 and 6-4. Venus and the 22-year-old Fernandez had never played together before this year's U.S. Open. They will play in the quarterfinals today against Taylor Townsend and Katerina Siniakova. You can catch today's doubles match live on ESPN at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations up. First, since we missed our usual Monday collaboration because of the Labor Day holiday, it's Smiley and West at the top of our second hour on a Tuesday. Lots to delve into with Dr. Cornel West today at the beginning of hour 2. On the B side of hour 2, today a conversation with the saxophone colossus, Walter Theodore Sonny Rollins, who will turn 95 later this week. I ain't mad at him. It has been a joy unspeakable to have had any number of public conversations with the now retired jazz tenor saxophonist, who's widely regarded as one of the most important and influential jazz musicians of all time. So many of his compositions, including that one, St. Thomas, have become jazz standards. And so a 95th birthday salute to the one and only Sonny Rollins on the backside of Hour 2. In our third hour,
every honeybee feels with jealousy when they see you out with me. I don't blame them, goodness knows. Honeysuckle rose. When you're passing by, flowers droop and sigh. I know the reason why you're much sweeter. Goodness knows. Honeysuckle rose. Don't buy sugar. You just have to touch my cup. You're my sugar, sweet when you stir it up.
So I had to attend a 50th birthday party over the weekend. In fact, I attended 2 birthday parties this weekend, a 50th and a 70th. By the way, happy birthday, Danny. Happy birthday, Avis Ridley Thomas. In any event, at Danny's 50th celebration, a fellow guest walks up to me, introduces himself, and we start talking. He went on to tell me that he had taken his young son to a jazz concert the day before and saw some amazing jazz performer named Dee Dee, who had completely blown him away. He could not recall her last name. He just knew her first name was Dee Dee. I smiled and I said, Dee Dee Bridgewater. Bridgewater. That's her last name. By the way, she's a guest on my show in the final hour on Tuesday. And so indeed, Dee Dee Bridgewater will be here today in our third and final hour alongside Bill Charlotte to talk about their new album. It's called Elemental. But in this first hour, let's talk politics with our regular contributor, author, essayist, and UCLA professor, Marcus Anthony Hunter, who joins us once again live in studio. Professor, how are you, sir?
I'm blessed in the city.
Glad to have you in studio. Let me jump right in, make the most of this hour. A lot to cover. It's been a long and busy weekend. Only Donald Trump could be this busy. Everybody else takes off Labor Day. And he's laboring.
Giving us labor.
Exactly, giving us labor nonetheless. So I digress on that for now. But I want to just sort of frame for a moment. I got about 2 minutes here now. Let's frame this piece that you wrote, which I found really fascinating, and then we'll talk about it when we come forward here. He wrote a piece for Black Enterprise, Marcus did. The headline is Beyond the Long Weekend, Labor Acknowledgements Repair What's Been Broken. Beyond the Long Weekend, Labor Acknowledgements Repair What's Been Broken. We'll let him unpack what labor acknowledgments are when we come forward. But the subtext of the art of the subtitle essentially is that in a nation designed and built by slaves, never forget that, in a nation designed and built by slaves, Labor Day marks the long struggle to move closer to fair and equitable wages for all of America's workers. My question initially is that the direction we're moving in? Closer to fair and equitable wages for all America's workers?
We are not, because we still are not in our reckoning of acknowledgement and awareness about the foundation of slavery to America, especially to its labor system. Mm-hmm. If we think about things like minimum wage or cost of living increases, it's because in America, the proposition is you're starting at -0 because you do not pay an enslaved person. So the struggle of labor is deeply rooted in the history of slavery.
There's your frame that we'll operate inside of when we come forward. Marcus Anthony Hunter for the hour on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-297-1563 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-297-1563. That's 800-297-1563. What do you have to lose? Call 800-297-1563. Again, 800-297-1563.
Want to extend that barbershop shave at home? Try Gillette Skin Guard, designed specifically for men who battle shaving irritation. With this irritation defense bar, 2 comfort blades, and a touch of aloe, it helps avoid shaving bumps and irritation, leaving me looking my best. I find it perfect for when I need a clean, fresh look, especially between barber visits. Tailored for black men, it's easy to use and offers the comfort my skin deserves. Stay confident between cuts with Gillette Skin Guard.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in experience and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. If you're a guy facing divorce, remember, Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and UCLA's Marcus Anthony Hunter in the first hour of today's program. Hope you enjoyed your extended Labor Day weekend. Going to be a great show in case you've just tuned in. Cornell West and Sonny Rollins at our second hour. You can't do much better than that. And speaking of not doing much better than, Dee Dee Bridgewater in our third hour. Going to be a great show. And we start off, of course, with one of my favorite guests and brilliant professor and commentator Marcus Anthony Hunter. So a great show on tap for you all 3 hours today. Just getting started. There is some breaking news here. A judge has just ruled that Donald Trump illegally deployed National Guard and Marines to Los Angeles. So this case has been in court for some time now. You recall weeks ago now, Donald Trump sent the National Guard and the Marines here to L.A. against the wishes of our mayor, L.A. Karen Bass. He's done the same thing now in the nation's capital with their black mayor, Muriel Bowser. They are bracing in Chicago today, literally, for Donald Trump going into Chicago with their black mayor, Brandon Johnson. Mm-hmm. He's been talking about Baltimore and Maryland in a war of words, increasingly with the governor of that state, Wes Moore, a black man. I think you get the point. I'm going to leave that alone. But these folk happen to all be African Americans. But a judge has now ruled that Donald Trump did, retrospectively, illegally deploy National Guard and Marines to L.A. I don't know what it means now, Marcus, that this ruling comes forward. Maybe it will aid and abet those cities that Donald Trump is yet to invade or about to invade. What do you make of this ruling from this judge just now, really?
I mean, it's affirming something that most people, especially those of us in Los Angeles, knew on its face. At the same time, you know, the judicial branch does not have a law enforcement body that it puts out. So effectively what we're seeing is a reverse Little Rock, which I know we're also going to talk about, where the idea of Little Rock was that the Supreme Court had come down with a ruling and then the president sends the National Guard to enforce said ruling. What's happening now is that Donald Trump is putting forward his law enforcement executive branch, and then the judicial branch is saying, you can't do that. Well, who's going to enforce it? This is back to illegally deporting people to Venezuela, Uganda, whatever. The judge says it. the person is already on the plane. They're living a life in Uganda now, or Venezuela, getting their head shaved. So I'm unsure what it all means. I do hope that people who are noticing it are noticing the gap between our branches of government. The judicial branch is saying one thing, and the executive branch is doing something else, and also has already done something else, which says that our legal system is still too slow to deal with our civil rights being violated. And we now seen the Supreme Court turn into basically Trump's number one counsel. So, I mean, this lower court is saying that, but by the time it gets to Clarence Thomas and friends, they're just going to say whatever the president says is the law. And until such time he's not president, we will no longer review this case.
I've said the same thing time and time again. These lower courts keep giving us what we want. Or reading the law as it ought to be interpreted. And every time he gets back into a corner, he appeals this ruling to a higher court. The highest court, of course, is the Supreme Court, and they always seem to rescue Donald Trump. We'll see what happens with this particular case, but at least at the moment, a lower court has said that Donald Trump illegally deployed National Guard and Marines to L.A. That will have some impact, as I said, on what he plans to do in Chicago and elsewhere. But ultimately, as Marcus said, it'll work its way up to the Supreme Court. We'll see what they say then. But here's what we know at the moment. Since you went there, let me follow you. Since you said we want to go there anyway, let's do now. And that is the Little Rock example you gave. It's a powerful example. I hadn't even thought about it until I read your piece. But it is a fascinating frame because it's a 180. It's a complete reversal of the way things are being done now. Tell me more.
Yeah, so the idea is that you have Brown v. Board of Education come down and say that schools must be desegregated. Separate and equal is not equal. And what we have are 9 children that stand in for the nation to symbolize this idea of desegregating schools. And we're having an anniversary of sorts that the news story is about Governor Sarah Huckabee, former Trump press secretary, inaugurating statues of the Little Rock Nine, with one of them being present. And what I found fascinating in the story is Ms. Eckford basically corrects the governor, who said these 9 kids represent integration and how important it was for us to integrate. And she basically said, with all due respect, no, we experienced desegregating. There was no integration happening.
That's right.
And this was children. And for people who are not familiar, you can go onto these internets and you will see pictures of grown people spitting and cursing at young children, even though a Supreme Court said this is the new way we should be thinking about things. The other thing at the same time is that we also see the limits of the Civil Rights Acts that come later, because ultimately one of the tensions that we live in is that we live in laws that are created by Supreme Court decisions, not by a Congress. And that is completely antithetical to the legislative branch being the lawmaking body. So it tells us we are still waiting for our lawmakers to make laws that make it so that we're not just beholden to the court. At the same time, in that past example, it was the president putting the National Guard in to try to enforce the decision and allow the children to go to school.
Used a phrase a moment ago that jumped out at me. Beholden to the court was the phrase. Beholden to the court. I am not a lawyer, and I don't play one on the radio. You are a professor, but not a professor of law.
That's right.
So neither of us are experts in this regard. But I think we can, given that we have some intellect and some experience, we can opine on this. I was thinking when you use that phrase, beholden to the court, that there was a time when the only place that black folk could go, the only body to which we could appeal for any modicum of justice, you know where I'm going, was the court system. What a fascinating turn. And the other thing that I thought about is that when we appealed to that court system back in the day, it just happened to be the case that until Thurgood Marshall shows up, these are all white males. So ironically, there was a period in American history where 9 white males came to the rescue of black people. And I'm saying rescue in quotes because it really was interpreting the law as it should have been interpreted all along. But you take my point.
Yeah.
Now here we are with the most diverse court. Not ideologically, but the most, speaking of 9 white males, the most diverse court ever. And this court has abandoned any notion of justice and fundamental fairness for most of us, but certainly for African Americans. What do you make of that dynamic that dialectic, if you will, given that you mentioned Little Rock back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, we must always remember that Dred Scott is in the DNA of the U.S. Supreme Court. And so when we see it making these decisions, we do ourselves a disservice if we don't hold the history forward, meaning they're returning back to something that's in their bloodline. Their bloodline has often been a reflection of the whims and whimsy of the executive or the legislative branch. They're rarely ever making culture. You know, they are usually arbiters of where the culture is or where it seems like it wants to be. And then the easy answer is always to say, take it up with your elected official, you know, pass a law. The other thing about it is that we've talked about expanding the court. People have talked about all of these different arrangements, thinking about the court. But as you said, we have representation happening on the court system. And unfortunately, Sister Ketanji was given a job that ultimately just keeps being, I'm going to tell you what the dissenting opinion is. I'm just going to be writing dissenting opinions because they're just going to run through things that they feel are important. And so that's a larger question to ask ourselves. How did the legislative branch of our government become so weak relative to these two other branches that they are responsible for making laws so that we can live in a reproductive justice society, but we keep waiting on 9 individuals of whatever makeup to tell us what we already know to be true and what we're electing people to make into law?
And how scary is it for you? I've expressed my own point of view about this in days past, but how concerning is it, how scary is it for you that we see in front of our eyes this naked power grab by the executive branch? And right now it's Donald Trump. And I was in conversation over the weekend with somebody about this. Right now it's Donald Trump. But I can foresee a day when there's somebody even worse than Donald Trump. I know in this moment it's hard to imagine that. But here's my point. Any power that Donald Trump pulls to the side of the executive branch is not going to be surrendered by the next executive. So if you consider, God help us all, that J.D. Vance succeeds Donald Trump, he's going to take all that power that Donald Trump sees and try to pull some more power to the executive branch. And to your point, for those of us who remember our civics classes, they're supposed to be co-equal branches of government, executive, judicial, and legislative. We see in front of our eyes this power grab by the executive branch, which is going to make that balance more imbalanced. Makes sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I think 2 ways about it. I'll spend time on the second way because I think the second way is that President Donald Trump is revealing or exploiting key areas of possibility that when a progressive president has been in, we've been told are not on the table. The pardons are an easy one. The tradition has been the end of the second term. Sometimes in the end of the first term, there come down some pardons, usually more clemencies than pardons because they're so politicized. I'm afraid they're going to get mad. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, any day. And I think we need to know that. And it should operate like that. We should hold our officials, especially if you get a progressive president, they should be held to these same levels of expectation. When Donald Trump was president, he was saying the Department of Education shouldn't do. We want to hear you say it should do. It is. So I think that's one way. The second part about it is the United States Congress has been lacking for quite a long time. And if we want to just use slavery, we can think about the missed opportunity of Reconstruction. If we go back to then and the power that the Congress had, it has weakened itself and given powers to Andrew Jackson over here, this person over here. So Donald Trump isn't the first to be able to exploit the lack of power or the lack of strength of the legislative branch. He's just doing it in so much wild fashion and such rapid fire and this high velocity events that it makes it like he's inventing this. But actually, he's just exploiting what's been available all the time. But when a progressive president is in charge, you hear, well, I can't do reparations right now because everybody's going to be mad. It should be made through laws. The Asher congressman, it's like, but you don't have the Senate. How is that ever going to happen? Oh, we want to make sure there's reproductive rights and we want to protect Roe versus Wade. We want the Equal Rights Amendment to be ratified. There are very specific requests that we see in a Trump presidency. The president can do these things.
So another phrase Marcus has now uttered that jumped out at me, exploiting what's been available all along. That was his comment a moment ago, that Donald Trump and Republicans are exploiting what's been available all along. Ready for the question?
Yeah.
All right. How then does that make you feel? I know how it makes me feel. When I look back at Joe Biden, But I look back at Barack Obama. Don't get me started. I know how it makes me feel when I think of them and what they didn't do. How in many respects Obama was afraid of his own shadow. Joe Biden was an institutionalist. As I said, don't get me started, but obviously I'm already started. But I look back at them and what they did not do. And I don't mean illegally, immorally, unethically. I'm talking about within the frame of what can be done and what ought to have been done legitimately under the law, under the rule of law. But juxtaposed to me how you now, in retrospect, look back at them when you see Donald Trump, again, to use your phrase, exploiting what's been available all along.
Yeah, it just takes me back to my roots in Philly, where, Philly is a blue-collar city, as you know, and you just got to be able to stand on something and push your point forward. You have to be unafraid in these Philadelphia streets. And what I see looking back is the fear. I mean, even in conversations with the administration, the prior one, a lot of the fear was like, if we do this, we're going to get sued. And they weren't wrong in the sense that Joe Biden said, let's just forgive student loan debt, which I'm a big fan of. 0 student loan debt. That should not be a thing that should impact your life negatively going to school.
Democrats say, if we do that, we'll get sued.
Exactly.
Donald Trump says, sue me.
So sue me, which is a very New York, Northeast mindset.
Exactly.
People like, oh, your sidewalk, I tripped over it. Sue me.
Yeah.
And then you wait to see if the paperwork comes. But you keep forging ahead on what you see as your priorities. And I think what happened was the Supreme Court then took up Biden's proposal. This is a low-hanging fruit example. And then it kind of died on the vine. He did these other stuff. He didn't just push forward. Now, he's from Scranton, PA. He should know how to give it up. This is a blue-collar place. And that's what happens is that there's a fear factor that really gets in the way because ultimately, at some point, we elect you, whether it's Obama or Biden or Trump, to be a fearless president. We want you to be fearless on behalf of what we want. And what we're seeing with Trump is that he is fearless about accomplishing whatever he told these people that he was going to do. And that I want to see more of out of the people that we elect.
Joe Biden has always been nice to me. I have nothing against him personally. But Scranton Joe, that's what what people called him. He wasn't. I think in real time he wasn't as scrappy. He wasn't the scrappy Scranton Joe that he advertised himself as.
Right. It was not the same malarkey, Joe. He tried to roll it out in the second campaign. It just didn't hit them corners like it did the first go round. And I grew up with, South Philly Italians, South Philly Irish folks who are progressive, who understand what a city needs and that you can't just be allowing people to be elected and then treat you poorly or not do what they say they're going to do. Yeah. And also for us to give up on the power of our vote. Our vote isn't just, as I said before in the show, it isn't just an action, it's a vibration. Yeah. I am looking for you to vibrate on these issues in a way that I need you to do them.
There are two other things that come to mind right quick that I think serve as examples. I think Marks will agree we'll see that would serve as examples additionally of how people can be turned on and inspired by people being a little scrappy, by Democrats no longer saying, I'm afraid to get sued versus Donald Trump saying, sue me. You look at the success, the fundraising success that AOC is having. Democratic Party a week or so ago had raised like $14 million. She raised 15 by herself. Right. We talked about that on this program with Connie Rice, one of our other great contributors.
Shout out to Connie.
Yeah. So you see the way that she and Bernie have turned out these huge crowds across the country. People want somebody to fight back. And while I have issues from time to time with Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, look at everybody being turned on now.
Yeah.
People are excited about the way that Gavin is showing up on this redistricting fight. Yeah. Even Obama's now shouting out Gavin Newsom. People want somebody to stand up and fight. And when you do that, people get inspired. Just two more examples. Bernie and AOC and their tour and the way Gavin Newsom is showing up on this redistricting fight. Just, again, more fodder, I think, for those who don't understand why Marcus Anthony Hunter and I are talking about the way that Donald Trump moves versus the way the Democrats don't. More when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says Washington, D.C. is now a crime-free zone after a federal law enforcement surge. He praised Black Mayor Muriel Bowser for cooperating, and here's what she had to say about the progress.
This is what we think in just a couple of weeks of experience has worked. Having more federal law enforcement officers on the street.
President Trump urged other Democratic leaders to follow her lead. Ladarius Butler, a black father from Aurora, Colorado, is suing police after they swarmed him with guns and tasered him in front of his kids. Officers tracked him after he left a hospital with his son over medical disagreements. The charges were dropped, but Butler says the trauma remains. And Nicki Minaj is teasing a collab with pop star Sabrina Carpenter. After sharing Carpenter's new song on Instagram, Minaj replied, "Don't worry," to a Vogue executive asking about a team-up. Get BIN News now, on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
You deserve a car that thrills you. A car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, they've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself. Shop your local Nissan store and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Naomi Osaka is playing like a Grand Slam tennis champion again. Osaka, the number 23 seed at the U.S. Open, eliminated Coco Gauff, the number 3 seed. Osaka needed only 64 minutes to beat Gauff 6-3 and 6-2. Gauff had 33 unforced errors. Osaka, a 4-time Grand Slam champion, is in the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam event for the first time in 4.5 years. She faces Carolina Muchova of Czechia on Wednesday. Venus Williams advanced to the quarterfinals of the doubles competition at the U.S. Open. The 45-year-old Venus and Leylah Fernandez beat Ekaterina Alexandrova and Zhang Shuai 6-3 and 6-4. Venus and the 22-year-old Fernandez had never played together before this year's U.S. Open. They will play in the quarterfinals today against Taylor Townsend and Katerina Siniakova. You can catch today's doubles match live on ESPN at 1 p.m. Pacific time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
You hear that? That's Mike, sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZQL Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Marcus Anthony Hunter in the first hour of today's program. In our second hour, Cornel West and Sonny Rollins. In our third hour, Dee Dee Bridgewater. Again, a great show on tap for you today. And I thank Marcus Anthony Hunter for coming in studio and kicking us off in this first hour. So I want to circle back. We unpacked a lot in that first half hour already. I want to circle back now to this piece you wrote for Black Enterprise entitled Beyond the Long Weekend, Labor Acknowledgements Repair What's Been Broken. And again, the subtitle, In a Nation Designed and Built by Slaves, Labor Day marks the long struggle to move closer to fair and equitable wages for all of America's workers. I asked Marcus, in case you've just tuned in earlier, whether or not we're moving in the right direction. He said, not exactly, when it comes to fair and equitable wages for all of America's workers. But there's something about that notion that this nation was designed and built by slaves that we always seem to lose sight of on Labor Day. It seems to me that these holidays ought to be a day for us to, a day of remembrance, a day of, to your point, acknowledgement, but that never seems to happen where black labor is concerned.
Yeah, that's one of the interventions of what I'm trying to do, and shout out to Black Enterprise and also the Amsterdam News in New York for providing space and place for me to offer this up. So as you know, I wrote a book, Radical Reparations, and one of the first things people always like to ask is, what are some practical ways that we can do reparative justice? And as I sit in a lot of reparative justice spaces, one intention that you see is that there is a land recognition. You know, we are on the land of the Potomac people, the Lenape people in Harlem, the Tongva people in the South LA Basin, and that is true. But as I start hearing it, there is the black person in me, the descendant of enslaved people, that goes, but two things were happening at the same time, which is the land dispossession and the enslavement. Where is the acknowledgement that slavery was happening too? And that feels really important because it's a way to help people see the presence of it in our everyday lives. Because one of the gaps is that people go, why is slavery relevant? Why do y'all keep bringing it up? It's like we're literally, DC was designed by a descendant of slavery. Shout out to Benjamin Banneker. He was an astronomer who used stars to decide where districts should be in Washington, D.C. So the word of the day to me is astronomical. That's what reparations would be, astronomical. So how do you break down astronomical? You break it down by thinking about what are social repairs that we can do? What are ways that we can inform the public and acknowledge and memorialize these things? And it could be simply before every session of U.S. Congress, they should be doing some sort of land acknowledgement and labor acknowledgement. We are currently in a city, in a building that was designed and built by descendants of enslaved people and enslaved people. Very simple, but very powerful, because it helps us see that at least in the 13 colonies, that's what we told it all started, slavery was what came with the boat. So people didn't just get off the boat and say, hey, Native American, give me your stuff. They said, you're all savages. We can't reason with you. This is now our Massachusetts. This is now Penn's Woods. And then they put their slaves to work to build Pennsylvania, to build Massachusetts. But we're not always hearing and recognizing that. And I think a holiday like Labor Day is a really great opportunity to make it so that we're stopping the white narrative of it beginning with unions and instead thinking about it as when people were finally allowed to charge for their labor. Why was there a problem of charging for your labor in America? Because they didn't have to pay people. So how do you start getting paid? You have to end the institution that allows people to be unpaid and exploited for their labor. It does not mean that the exploitation ends when slavery ends. It just continues into this other form that we call unions, that we call labor today. They're vestiges of a system of a nation that was used to not paying their workers.
Tell me, you sort of went here. I'm going to just push you a little, I don't mean to push you, but I'm going to pull you maybe a little further across the line here. Tell me then how we ought to think about, since you wrote the book, by the way, the book is called Radical Reparations, Healing the Soul of a Nation. Radical Reparations, Healing the Soul of a Nation, the book by Marcus Anthony Hunter. It's a powerful polemic that I highly recommend. But how ought we, on a day like Labor Day, yesterday, how ought we think of reparations in the context of Labor Day?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think that we should think about it, and I want to give a shout out to my great aunt, Frances Good, who passed away over the Labor Day weekend.
Condolences.
Because when I think about the elders who passed, I think that they deserve to see some form of reparations in their lifetime. Because oftentimes it's the elders among us who either they've been fighting hard for it or they're the ones who believe it'll never happen. Yeah. That for me, it's thinking about also these small acts of repair that are readily available and don't cost anything. That it's about acknowledging our presence. It's about acknowledging our contribution. That if we start beginning our gatherings, our convenings, our rituals, our ceremonies, our Pledge of Allegiance with acknowledging that enslaved people were present. We're here making contributions that create this nation that we're all arguing and fighting about. That is of service to everyone, to understand that the reason why you believe you can come to America and become something from nothing is because it was a nation that was built and designed by slavery. So therefore, anything's possible.
You trying to put Donald Trump in full cardiac arrest when you are suggesting, I'm not sure how far from it he is now, but when you start suggesting that you want to acknowledge the enslaved at the onset of the Pledge of Allegiance, you try to kill Donald Trump.
Right. But he said he the best president for black people since Abraham Lincoln.
He did say that. He did say
Get to work. You got to earn that.
He did. He did say that. I'm laughing, but what's not funny, thinking about, again, this long extended weekend and everybody sort of commemorating, celebrating whatever we did yesterday on Labor Day. What's not funny for me is the data point, and there are multiple data points now about the way that, speaking of Donald Trump, he has put upon black people when it comes to their employment. The unemployment rate for black people right now is off the chart. We have said many times on this program that black folk are always the canary in the mine. We know that when black unemployment climbs as high as it is right now, that's a signal about the state of the economy and where we're headed. But more expressly, black women are taking it on the chin. And over the last weekend, if I read one, I read a plethora of articles about the rising unemployment rate of black women, and all the statisticians that Donald Trump hasn't fired, at least, because he doesn't like their numbers. All the other ones are paying attention to what it means that the unemployment rate for black women in particular has climbed as high as it has. So in a real way, wasn't nothing for black folk to be celebrating yesterday on Labor Day, given that the unemployment numbers are off the charts, and it's a growing number, sadly, for black women in particular.
Yeah, I think this is again,
and I'm sorry, in part because of all the federal workers.
Yeah, right.
Make that point. That's why that number is so high. In part, statisticians believe black women, again, the numbers are climbing largely because of all those, pink slips that those federal workers got.
Yeah, and I think of a really good case example is the current situation for the People CEO Fawn Weaver of Uncle Nearest, and just thinking about her. If we're saying the miner's canary, I mean, she's made it all the way into an industry that has been really cordoned off to black people, especially black women. And now people are trying to dispossess her of an intellectually reparative project that she did, which was to restore the recipe and reputation of Uncle Nearest, who taught Jack Daniels. That is intellectual reparations right there. So I see her as a reparative justice warrior who's out here in a field that people are now trying to put in receivership, take away her ownership, and make her like it at the same time. And that is the environment. But at the same time, I think we should be vigilant about moving forward. We should always remember in a Labor Day scenario that if you descended from slaves and you're here, there's something to be said about that. And also we have a responsibility and a duty to those who designed and built all of this stuff to not just wallow in our upset and our fears, but to also channel those into something that creates a positive reality for those who are coming after us, which is happening every single day a baby is born.
Yeah. Marcus mentioned Fawn Weaver and Uncle Nearest, and I have been just heartbroken over the last week or two, just processing all of the black entrepreneurs who are being put upon. I can tell you, and I won't go too deep into this, but I can tell you, running this business here in LA, the black media is in trouble. Because these ad agencies are not spending the money they used to spend on black media, because Donald Trump has given corporate America a good excuse to look the other way, because he's going after DE&I and everything black and black women. Corporate America is doing the same. And so if you're in black media right now, you're in trouble. There's a reason why Byron Allen is selling his TV stations. Y'all heard me, right? There's a reason Byron Allen is selling his TV stations. There's a reason why Fawn Weaver is in trouble at Uncle Nearest. Pinky Cole down in Atlanta. Pinky Cole is in trouble. And these are names I raise because people know who these people are. But I'm telling you, there are a whole lot of black business owners, small business owners, whose names you don't know. But people are in trouble. I'm getting calls every day from colleagues, fellow entrepreneurs, and we're just commiserating with each other about the state of our businesses because, again, Donald Trump has been so wicked when it comes to his maltreatment of black people that everybody's piling on. And people who happen to be black who are trying to run business enterprises are all in trouble. And so, again, you mentioned Fawn, I mentioned Pinky, there's Byron and a bunch of other people. But it's a dark moment in some ways when you talk about celebrating Labor Day, you know, not acknowledging the labor of black people then or now, putting upon black people and their labor in real time. Anyway, Marcus Anthony Hunters, I guess you're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and UCLA's Marcus Anthony Hunter. We were continuing our conversation offline that we were having with you online moments ago. So let me try to reprise some of that. I was saying to Marcus that I am troubled, and troubled probably isn't a strong enough word, but I'm troubled by what's going to happen to black businesses over the next few years. We all recall the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And every one of us knows some of our favorite stores and restaurants mm-hmm. that we frequented that did not survive the pandemic. And I'm afraid that at the end of Trump 2.0, there is going to be a lot of graves in which black businesses have been buried. I don't see any other alternative because, again, black businesses are in such harm's way right about now, and Donald Trump just keeps piling on.
Yeah, and I wondered, well, first, shout out to the sociologist Wilson Phillips, which is what I said to Tavis, is hold on for one more day. Yeah. Those who are able to, I hope you continue to hold on. And I'd be remiss if I didn't think about just a short phrase from the King, Martin Luther King. Know that as we struggle, we do so with cosmic companionship. Mm-hmm. And, they often say in the church, these troubles, they don't last always. Yeah. And I do think while they're real, they're also a real wake-up call because there are those of us in our community who selected the president who's in power now under the guise that he was a pro-business president, only for you within 6 months to be able to report such dire statistics and just a dire day-to-day running a very important radio station, that is serving not only just Leimert Park, but the Leimert Park across the world, and the struggle that you were detailing. So that's real. And I also just think that for me, one of the key parts is that also this is where the labor component comes out, is that we're not thinking about you and this or in some of these other folks, a fawn or as laborers. People just see it in the culture wherein everybody's a boss, bossing up, boss. It's like, but on some level, every boss is a laborer. And if there's an attack on labor, then somebody's not going to be able to be a boss anymore. And what does that even mean? And how intricately vulnerable we are to the ebbs and flows and the whims of the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, that we are always the first communities to be able to report. We kind of been in a recession. You might not like the numbers that the labor statistics person is giving you, but the black community's experience is the statistics that tell you that there is something not clean in the milk. People are having a really tough time.
Yep. I'm always mindful of the fact, and you are a history professor, so I'm always mindful that we have endured worse. So anybody throwing the towel in.
I didn't receive that.
We're not doing that. Right. If we're going down, we're going down swinging, right? If we go down, we're going down swinging. As my friend Cornell West says all the time, and Cornell West will join us at the top of the next hour.
Shout out to Dr. West.
Yeah, but more with Marcus Anthony Hunter in this hour when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services resources for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops, I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer, so I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Marcus Anthony Hunter. I want to circle back in the 3 minutes I have left, Marcus, if I can, right quick, to your invoking the iconic name of the Little Rock Nine. It made me think, or makes me think about the education battle that they were fighting then and the education battle that Donald Trump has us fighting now. Can you juxtapose the two?
Yeah. First, the good teacher in me always loves to provide a good reference. I want to shout out Dr. Corita Brown, who has a wonderful book out now called The Battle for the Black Mind, which I think is especially timely in these times.
It's a great title.
Exactly. And
Wow.
it says what we have going on. And I think would provide some deep context for how we got here and tools that we can pull from our ancestors to deal with these times. I think the overall thing is most people probably listening will agree with what I'm going to share, which is from the wonderful sociologist out of Newark, New Jersey, Whitney Elizabeth Houston, who once said, "I believe the children are the future." And so when we're hearing about education, we must always hear it as a battle about our children. And it isn't about just your child that you gave birth to. All children are all of our children. And so when we're seeing people taking away things, you can't have lunch anymore, you can't have breakfast, you can't have this, you can't learn that. This is really warfare against our children. And people are not saying that word because we might hear that conversation differently. If you just keep saying Department of Education, you have to ask who is being educated. And more times than not, the Department of Education is looking over the least of us, especially our children. Any attack on it is an attack on Black children. And if we start hearing it that way, I think we might feel our call of duty a little differently than just to be upset, but instead to activate and organize on behalf of our children the way people do when they find out that there's some LGBTQ curriculum being taught, or that they're going to learn about Marsha P. Johnson. The way people get up in arms about young children learning about sexuality, we should feel like that when they're talking about getting rid of the Department of Education. You can't learn anything to argue about if we don't have that structure there. So the children matter. They're our future. And any attack on education is an attack on them.
Mic drop. That's how he does it every time he shows up on this program. I love it. Excuse me, Marcus Anthony, you got me all choked up, man. Snorting on the radio on my microphone. Marcus Anthony Hunter is professor of African American Studies at UCLA. He's author of the book Radical Reparations, Healing the Soul of a Nation. His piece can be found in Black Enterprise, I referenced earlier. Just Google his name, Google Black Enterprise. You will find the piece that we referenced earlier in this conversation. Marcus, for now, thank you as always. I'll talk to you again soon, I hope.
Hey, you already know.
Thank you, sir. I love it. You already know. And you already know that Cornell West is coming up in the second hour, followed by Sonny Rollins, followed by Dee Bridgewater. We got 2 great hours in front of us on Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump says Washington, D.C. is now a crime-free zone after a federal law enforcement surge. He praised Black Mayor Muriel Bowser for cooperating, and here's what she had to say about the progress.
This is what we think in just a couple of weeks of experience has worked. Having more federal law enforcement officers on the street.
President Trump urged other Democratic leaders to follow her lead. Ladarius Butler, a Black father from Aurora, Colorado, is suing police after they swarmed him with guns and tasered him in front of his kids. Officers tracked him after he left a hospital with his son over medical disagreements. The charges were dropped, but Butler says the trauma remains. And Nicki Minaj is teasing a collab with pop star Sabrina Carpenter. After sharing Carpenter's new song on Instagram, Minaj replied, "Don't worry,